The highlight of my fundraising career, I think, was getting my first grant approval from the Washington State Arts Commission. And it was like, we had this big Fort Worden festival, but we needed risers for it. And it's like, where do you fit risers into a budget, when you're doing it on a string? And the Washington State Arts Commission had a project grant. And it was my first grant. I mean, the first one I ever done. It had just volumes of paperwork. And we got the money for the risers. And it was just like, yes, I can do it, type of feelings like, yeah, I'm successful, I can do the next one. Of course, I flopped on the next one. But boy, the first one was just a winner. That was really exciting.
To actually see a grant come through, it doesn't matter what the size is always very fulfilling. When you spend all the time putting yourself into a grant application, which is how I really feel. I'm really putting myself into this grant application, and to see it come through and you actually get funded is very exciting.
There's so many things about grant writing that compels me. It's the idea of telling your story and showing the need and showing the success that you've already had doing those activities. And it's just, I can't really explain it, but it's just the idea of putting into words everything that funder needs to know about you in order to give you money. And it's a challenge, but it's really fulfilling.
I've become more effective as a grant writer, and I've learned this by reducing the amount of words that I use in my grants and spending less time explaining the problem and being more focused in my delivery. So telling a coherent story, following the foundation's guidelines is really important. That sounds obvious, but when I first started grant writing, it was something it took some time to learn, to follow directions.
The best advice I would give other fundraisers is when writing a grant application, read the RFP, the request for proposals. Read it again, then read it again, and read it again, because the tiniest detail in there can actually make a difference about whether or not you're going to get that grant. Because there's all sorts of requirements, like you have to keep it to 10 pages, you have to put it in Times New Roman font, 12-point, double spaced, you can't use a staple. I mean, it's kind of silly. And there's one time I wrote an application, and I put it in this really nice binder, I put nice dividers in it, it looked really sharp, and they didn't even read it because I wasn't supposed to put it in a binder. I was just supposed to put a paper clip on it and send it in that way. So all of my hard work went to waste. So I can't say that enough. Read it again and read it again. Just make sure that you know everything that they're requiring. And if you don't know the answer to something, call the foundation and make sure that you know the answer, because it can make a really big difference whether or not you're going to get that money.
Really and truly understand the organization that you're appealing to. Really know everything you need to know about them, lots and lots of information, which is easier now because a lot of organizations have a website that tells you a lot about their mission and their values and that sort of thing. So know the organization that you're appealing to. And then, for heaven's sake, answer precisely, concisely, and compellingly the question that they ask on the grant request. Because when I've been to forums with grantors and grant seekers sitting down together, they'll often say, a good grant is one that really gives us the information we're asking for. You'd be surprised how many people don't answer a question that we ask because they have something else they want to tell us. But we're asking what we're asking for good reason. This is what we want to know. Well, answer their question. It's as simple as that. It's reading comprehension.
I'm really good at putting myself in another person's spot. So I try to imagine myself at the foundation reading this application. You really have to imagine the person that you're writing the application to. Your audience is really important.
It takes more effort to achieve a payoff than you might think when you first start doing it. And now that I've been doing this for some years, I understand better the amount of effort that it takes to get a grant. And I go into it with my eyes open, knowing that it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of grants before I do have a big success.
I know a lot of people write grants and they just blue sky it. They go, oh, well, this looks like a good foundation. But that's really not the best way to go about it, because you might get funding the first time, maybe, if you wrote a really good application. But it's actually developing the relationship with the funder that's going to get you better results, and results not just for 1 year, but for years after that, because the relationship that you build with the funder is they're proud that the money that they're giving is going for these programs that obviously are being successful. And the more successful your programs are, and the better that your relationship with the funder is, the better chances that you have for getting multi-year funding.
I also had a grantor say to me one time, I like getting your grants because they're interesting. And, you know, that seems like the only fair thing. If somebody's going to have to read 50 grant applications, and for heaven's sake, you probably feel passionately about your organization, put that on paper. Answer the question, but put some power behind it. You know, put some fire in what you write about. Definitely tell a human side of your story.
It's extremely important to tell your story. If you just give them a whole bunch of facts and give them statistics, they're not going to give you the money. I mean, they might. It really depends on the funder, and it's very subjective, but they like to see that the money that they're giving you is going for a good use. And by telling your story and showing the need and showing how many people in the community are going to be impacted by what you do, you have a better chance of getting the funding.
The largest one I've ever done, we applied to the State of Washington Building for the Arts. I think the original application was for $175,000. And we ended up getting, I think, $100,000. Now, it happened after I left the organization, which was kind of disappointing. But when I saw it in the paper, I was dancing around. I was so excited. It was like, oh my goodness, that application that I put in has now allowed this company to put a new roof on their building. And that is really, those are the highlights, to really see something come to fruition, to actually, all the effort that you put into it, you actually see results at the end.